We also know that in many states, rural areas are more likely to struggle against hunger than metropolitan areas. Indian country also struggles. Cara, Durr, Director of Public Engagement for the Food Bank of Alaska, will share why SNAP is a lifeline to rural and Native American households. Cara.
Thank you. Yes, in Alaska, clearly we're a very, very rural state, but I think rural even looks a little different in Alaska. So many of the communities, which are predominantly Alaska Native communities, are not accessible by road. They're only accessible by air. This leads to a situation where food costs and just the cost of general goods and utilities and everything is very, very expensive. So you know, you may go to a local grocery store and you might see milk is $10 a gallon, or a half a watermelon might be $25. So the cost of getting food there is, it's very difficult. It's something that we at the Food Bank of Alaska, who serve 150 partners statewide, deal with. The logistics and the costs with getting food to our partners in those communities. And so, you know, while those communities are struggling, they also have just high levels of food insecurity. You know, the Kisilvac region is one of the most food insecure regions in the entire country, as well as high unemployment. And what we've seen is the challenges that rural Alaska communities and Alaska Native families face is really exacerbated by COVID. So, you know, the high food prices, of course, have made national media. Well, in communities where those prices are already exorbitant, that trickles down and that adds even more burden onto these families. I think logistical issues, we've heard of supply chain disruptions, it's the same. I mean, these communities are really the end of the line. And when there are communities or supply chain disruptions in the lower 48, those communities see it in just such a bigger way. We are seeing a great increased need in many of our rural communities with requests from partners to come in. And there are some major challenges with getting food to this area. So this is why SNAP is such a critical resource for those Alaska Native families and in those rural communities, because it doesn't depend on, you know, a strong shipping network. It doesn't depend on having all these additional shipping dollars. It is money to families at a time when they need it. And these are also communities that have, you know, historically been ravaged by viruses and are taking this very seriously. And when communities go into quarantine and shut down, that also cuts off major access to larger grocery stores where they might be able to find more affordable food. So I think we are looking at a time now when, you know, boosting SNAP, it's always made sense, and it's always made sense for rural Alaska, but we really need this boost now more than ever, not only for the families that depend on SNAP, but for the local economies that are being so ravaged by this pandemic. Thank you.